G'day, freedom lovers. How are we today, Sips? And Jake's on to it straight away. Check that out. Check it out. Sippity doo dah, sippity day. Love your work. Hey, Rachel, how are ya? I see you guys. So many people pouring in so quickly. It's good to see. We were just discussing, like, is the 8 o'clock time slot working for us? You know, we were always at 7 o'clock for a long time period there. Adjusted it to sort of help, another podcaster out a little bit, but we're wondering, has it really worked for us though? I don't know. What do you guys reckon? Should we be back at 7 o'clock? Like, I know I look at it from my point of view. And it's like, well, it gives me an extra hour to prepare, especially on these days where we haven't got the interview. We're backwards week again. So the interview will be at 2 o'clock on Sunday with Jackie. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the Solemn League and how that all went with Canberra and all the rest. I had a bit of a yarn to her today. She was pretty happy with it all. A bit burnt out to be doing tonight. So she said she'd like to do Sunday. And before we go on the break, which is coming up, in case, you haven't tuned in last week and you missed things, g'day, arguably Angela. How you going? And Liz, g'day. If you didn't tune in last week, we're going to take a bit of a break. So this weekend is the last 2 podcasts we're going to be doing. So this is part 1 of the last of the podcasts. And then part 2 will be Sunday at 2 o'clock. And we'll have Jackie come back to talk about that. I did get a couple of emails. People were concerned that maybe they didn't make the deadline or whatnot. It's okay. Every month, Jackie will be gathering those Solemn League and Covenants signed documents and whatnot, and sending them in every month. So, if you don't make this month, it's okay. You can make next month, but that's no reason to delay. Get onto it as soon as you can. Let's hammer them as hard and as fast as we can with this sort of stuff and express the will of the people, because that's what this is all about. People out there will say, the Commonwealth is dead. They're ignoring the Constitution. But that's because we keep allowing these things to happen. As I've said many a time, it's we've allowed things, collectively for generations to become a very, very dire straight scenario where communism is knocking at our door. We're staring. It's like being in Nazi Germany, 1933. We're right at the beginning of this shit. You know how this is going to turn. Things are not going to get any better unless we start making a stand while we have the ability to do so. I'm going to go through some of the things that make that all happen, I guess. So, but I think we should start with some memes. What do you reckon, ladies and gentlemen? Meme world. By the way, feel free to let me know whether you think 7 o'clock works, and if my lovely commenters out there can get a list and put them into, you know what I mean, that list that I get, so I can filter things when I'm not paying attention. And so let's see what the general thing is for other people, whether they've like the 7 or the 8. And if you're watching this after the fact, well, I guess it doesn't really matter to you. But maybe you're watching this after the fact because 8 o'clock is too late for you. Shoot me an email in that case. Let us know what you think, because I'd like to get the audience's opinion, on whether 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock is a better time. I can see some people say 8 is good for them, so that's all right. But you've also got to bear in mind when daylight savings comes, and it's only a couple of months away, I believe now, that will translate to 9 o'clock here. Should I go along with daylight savings is another thing. I fucking hate daylight savings. I moved to Queensland because, you know what? I hate daylight savings. I think it's a mental torture device created by the states to fuck with your body clock every 6 months. Personally, I think it should be outlawed. They openly state that things like shift work and changing people's routines and hours is actually a kind of mental abuse, yet they do it every 6 months for the sake of this fucking crap, So like 8 p.m. usually you can sit down about then, says Liz. Yeah. Cheers. G'day, T2. How are you, mate? T2, the Terminator 2. I know what it really is, Trump Q2 and all that sort of stuff. Trump 2020. I remember you telling me that. But I still see T2 and I think Terminator 2. It was a good movie. Anyway, we were going to do some memes, weren't we? All right, they're a little bit out of order because, normally I do this stuff on a Sunday where I have more time to prepare over the weekend, but that's okay. We can deal with this, can't we? We're professionals here. We make shit up as we go all the time. That's not the button I wanted. This is the button I wanted. That's how professional we are. Straight after a statement about being professional, I clicked the wrong button. What will the world come to next? Oh, God, this guy, fuck me. 120,000 drive away. Yep, you're doing a great job for us, man. Bringing them car prices down. Good old Elbow, eyeing off the totalitarian surveillance state while stepping upon Western liberal values and showing them the cold shoulder. Very typical, very typical. I like this one. This is a good one. What makes sex not rape? Consent. What makes a job not slavery? This is. I'm struggling with this one. Consent. I mean, I consensually go along with it, but I still call it wage slavery. I can't help it. It's similar to whether you're a renter or whether you're paying off your mortgage. In one form you're an eternal rent slave because you just never get out of that. But you're a fundamental cash cow on a human farm. Whereas then you go into debt slavery. It's still slavery. Until you pay it off, and then once you paid it off, you still owe the government taxes through fucking rates and various other bullshit. So I'm struggling to see the point where I get out of the slavery thing. It's a bit hard. Anyway, let's come back to the meme. What makes a transaction not robbery? Consent. What makes taxation not theft? Magical fairy dust. I like it. I'm still stuck on the slavery thing though. But yeah, anyway. Sips to that and the magical fairy dust. Sounds like my daughter's enjoying the concept of fairies out there. Anyway, a long, sad chapter of the drug war is brought to a close as investigators finally arrest marijuana. That's it. Who would have thought they could finally solve the war on drugs so quickly? All they had to do was get the Gestapo style uniform, some guns, and say papers, please. And look at that. Marijuana has been sorted. Anyway, you want a conspiracy theory? Then I'll give you a conspiracy theory. And I like this one, Hobbit Hills. And I'm not sure what you call it in Teletubby world, but it looks like a Hobbit Hill. We've got hobbits, short people, swords, and then we have Teletubbies. And they're rather large people, really. They seem to be Is that a Teletubby home there that he's dwarfing in the background? I think that's a flower. I don't know. It's kind of like, when you see those pictures of, hey, look, I found a lizard man, and it's like the most pixelated shit you've ever seen. You're like, really? Are you sure it's a lizard man? Like, or don't just dust on the lens. Anyway, and the all-seeing eye and the all-seeing baby. Think that one over, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, sip. So remember, when you bury a body, cover it with endangered plants so it's illegal to dig it up. Follow me for more gardening tips. Just, I'm not suggesting that you do this, but, I thought it was funny. Under no ways am I, encouraging this as a wonderful means of disposing with our political problems in the world. Anyway, society, video games don't teach you anything. Video games. Governments falsify history only so it favors them. Does anybody know what this video game is? It seems very educational to me. I think. And speaking of education, I actually sat down and watched E.T. for the first time in a long time, and I comes to realize that the real moral of this story, and it's really important for young children to watch it, is you can't trust the government. They will try and steal your alien at any given opportunity. So you clearly can't trust them. And worse yet, they could make him turn white and die. Anyway, I mean, obviously the aliens had abandoned poor ET there in the first place. They had no trust of the government, so that says a lot. Advanced life forms, with spaceships, don't trust our government. Why should we? Another good lesson for children: don't wander too far away from your parents. You might get abandoned by aliens. Anyway, I like this one. The Japanese history. We've now got black fellas, Swedish history, black fellas with blue eyes, British history, black fellas again, Norwegian history, looks like more black fellas, in Italian history, and black fellas. That's funny. They must have different history books to the ones I had. Not that I'm against black fellas or anything, but I could have sworn at that particular time they weren't really, kings of those particular regions or anything. It's just interesting. I watched a good one today at Redacted about the Africans and whatnot, and how they're kind of sick of all the white privileged people coming in there and turning everything into some kind of communist nightmare. It was a really good one. There was a book recommended in that. I'm gonna have to get a copy of it. I'll add it to my books that I haven't read. I can see eyes rolling through the fucking wall. Hey. Anyway, where is it? I took a screenshot of it, I swear. There was two books, actually. Japan's Holocaust. I got to check that one out just to learn a little bit more. Like most of what I learned there today was pretty straightforward. But this one here, this Margaret Wade bird. Actually, I should probably bring the screen back out a bit here. Get on the right screen. That's not the right screen. And turn it that way. This one. And she's a African lady who was definitely not happy with the way, all this aid and stuff that we keep bringing over to their countries apparently doesn't really help. It creates dependency, which is kind of the way I figure, the communist welfare system fundamentally works at least it does in my mind, that the more you give people, the less they're inclined to do it. It's that whole teach a man to fish or give him a fish. Which way are you going to go? You give him a fish, you're going to have to keep giving him a fish. And personally, I'm too lazy. I'm not that good a fisherman either. If I caught a fish, I'm going to eat the bastard. It could be weeks before I see another one. So, somebody teach me to fish, please. Anyway, the American people waiting for just one more Democrat to be held accountable for literally anything. That is a great point, don't you think? I'm still astounded that Trump hasn't gone through and gone, right, let's sort out the rigging of the election. Let's expose that, Right. Why is Hillary Clinton not in a jail cell? Like, he promised that before his first bloody one, eh? Like, where's this Epstein list? But we'll get to that later, a very relevant meme for what's coming up, even though I got it like 2 weeks ago. Anyway, I like this one. On the planet Mercury, 0 deaths, no taxation. on the planet Venus. No deaths, no taxation. On planet Earth, deaths 120,315,672,896 plus. Has taxation? Yes. And as you can see, as we move through Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. Oh, Pluto is a dual planet. They forgot about good old Charian there. You know, it's a bit rude. You know, it's a dual, at the very least, a dual planet. Although been demoted and all the rest to a planetoid because it doesn't spin on its own axis, which kind of makes sense. But anyway, what the real important thing here is there's no taxation on any of these planets, and nobody's dying. I think we've solved the problem of death on planet Earth. Fuck off taxes. Who agrees? Can I get a show of hands or show of sips even? Okay. Please don't say firecracker. It's very offensive. The term is fire Caucasian. Okay. Fire Caucasian from here on in. No more firecracker stuff. It's racist. And I hope they're going to add that to all the racist bills that they're working on at the moment. Like at the end of the day, we're all probably going to be down to sign language, and I'm sure they're going to find that offensive too. We may be down to grunts very shortly in the way things are going. But when people claim the government helps people, all right, not only is that a joke unto itself, but that eagle is carrying that rabbit out of harm's way. Yeah. That's greenies for you. That's the kind of delusional realm that they live in. Government helping people. That's right. Feels great to finally be represented at Lowe's paint section. Trustworthy whites. Gotta love it. Sips to that one. When you tell an Antifa member that communism leads to starvation. Like the unemployed noises. Is that racist towards the sand people? I don't know. Tuscan Raiders. Sorry, used an inappropriate slur there. Tuscan Raiders. Which again, Tuscan Raiders. It's not exactly a nice thing to say, is it? Tuscans, perhaps? I don't know. Maybe Star Wars was racist from the word go. The feminist agenda says that it's perfectly acceptable to clean homes, take care of children, teach lots of children, cook/bake for hours in a kitchen, and submit to the authority of men as long as it's not your own home, your own children, your own kitchen, or your own husband. There we go. We've solved all. For anybody who was confused about that, this meme has solved all those problems. It's okay as long as you're doing it for money, not for your own family or the benefit of your own house. All right, just problem solved. Right. But if you homeschool your children, then how would they know if they're trans? I just love the tears. It's cold. Oh, cry me a river, lady. Thing, whatever. I don't know. If a businessman makes a mistake, he suffers the consequences. If a bureaucrat makes a mistake, you suffer the consequences. And there is no finer place to see that being demonstrated than right here in Townsville, particularly with the Townsville City Council. They are absolutely masters of it. The amount of money they waste is phenomenal. That's why they needed to increase the rate so they could waste some more. And obviously we have to continue to suffer for their inadequacies. There's a wonderful Labor piece here. By 1990, no Australian child will be living in poverty or property. Actually, that's probably right. No, that was a real intention. By 2025, every Australian will be living in poverty. Anthony Albanese. You will own nothing and be happy. That's why you will not be. No child will be living in property. Oh. All right. So. How do we end up with that? I'm not even sure what that is. Oh, actually, that's a meme that should have been loaded. Let's do it now. So this is kind of it's a meme video. It's a new idea that I've seen circulating the internet. I find it a little bit frustrating to deal with sometimes, but in this particular instance, I was actually able to acquire one rather easily. So Sorry, my folder structure is not quite prepared today. It was elsewhere. And meme world, and we want this one. I cracked up, although I was kind of disturbed at the same time.
No! God! Jesus! Ah! Fuck! Fuck!
It was Star Trek Discovery, I think it is. That's what did it for me. I'm just like, no, I can't do this. No, it can't be done. I'm just disgusted. You try to fast forward through it, but then they keep with this queer thing going, and they finally killed the queer. I'm like, thank fucking God, it's gonna fucking end, you know. Obviously, I'm guessing it's some sort of backlash, you know. But then in the second season, they tried to bring it back. I'm like, nah, seriously, fucking shoot this show. Oh, I can't do it. I can't do it. You're killing me here, you know. Wrong. It's just wrong. Sorry. It's just not, you know, hey, you guys want to do that in your own fucking privacy, your own home? Go right ahead. Just stop invading the airways. We don't want to see it. That's just how it is. And I have a right to think that, Sips. Jake, sorry. Seriously, that nearly come out my nose. That is rude. All right. Remove from studio. Rightio. So where were we? How to start today's show? Well, this one springs to mind because we're kind of on that topic. So let's bring this particular video piece in. This is going to be random chaos, ladies and gentlemen. But you wouldn't have it any other way. It's just the way things should be. So this is one of a Vietnam vet, as I understand, letting everybody, or at least this particular thing, know exactly what he thinks.
He said, what?
Women are women. Well, I'm telling you, as a man, that's bullshit. Nobody confronts your ass. That's the problem. Really? You are not a chick. You still have a.
You know what? That is none of your business.
You are nuts.
Let's wake you up.
You
to the
are
truth,
nuts.
sir.
You're not a woman. You don't look like a woman. You don't act like a woman.
Really?
You're head. What's wrong with you?
Trans women are women.
Jesus Christ, man. Get a clue.
Some people think it's hurtful.
I don't give about feelings anymore. I'm 70 and 8. I went to Vietnam to fight for all this. Do you think I care about some feelings?
Love it. Love it. Went to Vietnam to fight for all of this shit. Oh, you'd feel a bit ripped off. I don't know. Is there any soldiers out there who'd like to get on board and, you know, perhaps throw their 2 cents in, who've gone overseas, fought for freedom, only to find that this is what people are doing with it? Like, come on. It's wrong. It's wrong. All right. I'm going to do this next one just because I can't remember what it is. Oh, yep, I can. That's right. I just needed to see the thumbnail. All right. Where are we going to go? Where are we going to go? How am I going to put this together? All right. Let's start perhaps with sharing a screen. So we've done the Solemn League thing. All right. So we'll continue down the path of good old Labor doing wonderful things. So they're talking about how they're giving a 3.5% pay rise to 2.9 million workers. Now, I'm pretty confident I'm not going to be one of them. But the Australian people's reaction is what's really important here. Prepare for a 50% power bill jolt. People are not buying into this. The true cost of no rebate relief. West Australians face a 50% power bill hike next month as a cooked government perhaps, gets set to wean households off energy credits. With the government tipped to raise power prices by 2.8% on top of all this and expected to discontinue bill credits, prices could jump from 1,200 to more than 1,800 for their average household modeled in the state budget. Isn't it? Are they doing such great jobs, ladies and gentlemen? Like, oh, I'm fucking impressed. Absolutely astounded. You know, this fella says the problem is how you crooks actually measure inflation. Interesting, isn't it? My bullshit meter is ready to explode, says another. Stop the freaking spin and do something to stop the destruction of Australia. Stop it. These fuckers are throwing fuel on the fire. They're there with gallon drums of petrol, just pouring it on. They go, we need something more combustible here. 100% complete bullshit, says the meter. Right. Rising taxes contribute to weak income. Who would have thunk? I mean, Labor are the taxation party. You know, that's how socialism works. They steal from everybody and give fundamentally to themselves and the unnecessary jobs that they create. All right. This one does the inflation. The inflation this will cause will be higher than the increase in wages and will affect everyone. All government expenditure is inflationary. Taxpayers are paying for this. Retards. And I like the post that goes with it. If socialists understood economics, they wouldn't be socialists. I couldn't think of anything more appropriate. Like, I mean, they're basing their shit on Karl Marx's works, a man who was so popular that he was lucky to get 10 people at his own funeral. He was an absolute prick. Even communists didn't like him, and that's saying something. They'll accept anyone just about, you know, so long as they're not in a gulag already, that is. But anyway, more reality. OECD data also suggests that Australian households had suffered the largest decline in the advanced world since Q4 2019, just prior to the pandemic. You know, here we are on an absolute roller coaster ride straight down. Except everybody's got their hands in the air and they're screaming, and it's not because they're having a good fucking time. I can tell you I am not. Only when I'm here having a drink with you lot do I actually feel a little bit better about this. I mean, on the bright side, they're giving me plenty of podcast material, and look at all this. You don't even have to try. You just have to go through the comments on a Labor post to find it. And inflation as a result, not paid for by Labor, paid by struggling small businesses who will need to recover the costs. Yawn, more gaslighting. Personal income tax in 2024 at $352 billion, 38% rise. That is nuts. Seriously, this is what socialism looks like. In case you weren't sure, Labor will buy votes with the election budget. Like, thanks very much, you turd burglars. These people pretend to be for the worker. All they do is rob the worker. It's nuts. Another reality check. A tough year for Australian living standards. Here we are. We are the lowest. Everybody else seems to be going up. We are going down. Finland seems to be the only one who's on the same roller coaster ride, at least the downward part. These guys are moving on their way up, looking for the next wee. We're just getting all the wee coming down our backs. And they're trying to tell me it's raining. But anyway, and prices to rise to pay for it shortly, meaning your taxes and cost of living are going to go up another 10%. Love it. Like, nobody is buying this. Immigration is good for the country, be honest. We need immigration because of labor shortage, be honest. Immigration increases corporate revenues and suppresses wages. Thank you. So the people here are clearly speaking, and as usual, he's not listening. You know, meanwhile, hold my beer. You know, look at all the money these people are spending. Why is Albo getting more than Donald Trump? How the hell does that make sense? Plus, I'm not sure if they've actually calculated this for, you know, how shit our dollar is. But if we consider the fact that our dollar is shit, you might find that Trump's actually on more. But let's assume that they did it. I mean, it is 9 News. Surely they get these things right, don't they? They know what they're doing, yeah? I don't know. Should we trust them? Let's refer to Star Wars for some advice.
Who's the more foolish, the fool or the fool who follows him?
Maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we shouldn't trust that they did it right. Anyway, won't do anything to help with the rising energy bills, but then again, what have Australian Labor ever done to help any real Australians in that area? Promised $275 cut to bills replaced with over $300 rise. So if they're telling you they're saving you money, you know it's going to cost you more money. I don't know if I could bear to listen to good old Wing the Wong number. But anyway, cool story. Employee real wages. And Labor gets in. Landslide. It wasn't called. It was when we, Pauline Hanson. I know she's going to blame it on the slopes, just like she did in friggin' was it Threadbow? Old joke, but still a goodie. If you don't know Threadbow, better look it up. But yeah, it just keeps going. It just keeps going. Not one positive, not one comment going, oh, thanks, mate. Thank you. Well, the party that destroyed Australia and its culture. I'm going to work up to your vile party before it was too late to save my soul. I like that one, Well, anyway, we could read comments from a Labor post all day. At least I can, because it is just so entertaining to see that the majority of the country just hate their friggin' guts. Absolutely hates them. But let's have a look at some more of Albo's wonderful work. Anthony Albanese has kept tight-lipped on China's offer to cooperate on artificial intelligence amid tensions between the government and the Trump administration. So is Trump pushing us into the lion's den here? Like, are you feeling like, a Christian in ancient Rome being cast to the lions for the entertainment of the elitist Labor scum here? Like, given what they're about to do, the last thing we want to do is get buddy with a Chinese corporation on AI running our internet, wouldn't you think? You just Pauline Hanson, Penny Wong. I'm not sure. Did I get that? I'm not reading that right. Or did I get Wong and Pauline ran the wrong way? I don't know. No, it was Pauline Hanson who blamed it on the slopes. That's what it said, wasn't it? Threadbow. Look it up. It's a good joke. Anyway. Anyway. Got to get all that humor in before I get done in for it. So anyway, but it keeps going. We got more. Albo pivots to China. Be aware what you voted for. Thanks, guys. Anthony, I didn't vote for him. Don't blame me. Only 25% of it. We crunched the numbers. 25% of the populace didn't vote. We can take that away from his alleged 36 or 37 or whatever he actually got of the primary vote and determine that it was close to 25% of the people is what he actually got. And let's face it, he imported 24% of his voters. So that means 1% of Australia is still dumb enough who were born here to vote for this dropkick. Anyway, our alliance with the US ought to be remembered as a product of Curtin's leadership. So anyway, another article going on about this. Inland Empire is now changing that. You may not like Donald Trump's corruption and culture wars, but they are nothing compared to the changes to values that would come under Xi Jinping's command and control empire. Why Australia or any other regional democracy would contemplate such a trade is lunacy, nor do I recall anything in the lead up to this last election about Australia pivoting to Beijing. Yet that's precisely what Albo is doing. The success of doing so while sustaining who we are comes down to one simple question. If we are going to stand apart from the US, why are we not tripling our defense budget and going nuclear to make it realistic? Without such a pivot in spending, all we are doing is pivoting to become a Chinese satrap. I think the word jockstrap might work better. But anyway, which will evolve into a permanent one Labor Party state, making Australia internationally weak with increasing access to Chinese people, capital, and coercion to wit. The Australian. Well, China is looking to capitalize on Australia's fraying ties with the United States by enlisting Anthony Albanese in its tech and trade war with Donald Trump via an expansion of an existing free trade agreement to include artificial intelligence and the digital tech economy. This is possibly one of the scariest things I've ever seen, but I knew it was going to happen in a sense. But it's one of those things, it's going to happen, and then you see it happening and you're like, I still don't believe it. I knew it was coming, but I still don't believe it. It's like, I really wanted to be wrong. Quite often I want to be wrong these days. I just look into my crystal ball over here, and it's just one shit sandwich after the other coming off the conveyor belt. Maybe we've got to get out of the shit sandwich factory. If we are to pursue continental defense, what are you? So, but this is an interesting concept, right? The whole idea we need to build our defense. Do you realize how many American bases we've got here? This is nuts. I don't. And do you think America's going to let go of the resources here? My God. It's a bad move. It's a bad move. The last thing we want to be is in bed with the Chinese. Anyway, Elbow, tell Donald Trump to bugger off. Brutal advice for PM as he drops clue about when he will meet US president. So Karl Stefanovic has told Anthony Albanese he should tell Donald Trump to bugger off as he faces mounting pressure to lock in a meeting with the US president. Prime Minister is the only leader from the quadrilateral security dialogue made up of Australia, the US, India, and Japan who is yet to meet Trump in person since his re-election. I wonder why. What was it? Trump decided he had more important things to do. Let's say I blame him. Sips to that. Albanese appeared on various breakfast television programs, because does anybody listen to them? God, it's horrible shit. On Tuesday morning to endorse a string of changes that came into force on July 1st, but was instead grilled on when a meeting with Trump would be set up. Look, every quad leader has met him. It's all got a little bit embarrassing, hasn't it? Pretty simple question when are you going to meet the Donald? Stefanovic said. The PM said they would meet in the coming months, but refused to lock in a date. I can't comprehend how the president, given how close allies we have been with the US for so long, couldn't give a rat's about meeting you. I think it's so disrespectful. And why don't you just tell him to bugger off? Mr. Albanese said he was having audio issues and missed the question, which Jesus, that's got to be the lamest fucking excuse in the book. Oh my God. Oh, could this guy get any worse? Is it actually possible for Elbow to be more of a freaking joke? What a pathetic excuse. That's almost as good as the dog ate my homework. Fucking hell. What a wreck. What a wreck. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have to pour a drink after that. Oh, my God. What? It mystifies me. Like, how gullible does he think the Australian public are? Like that is complete and utter disrespect to everybody to actually say something that bloody stupid. I don't want to answer this question, so I'll just pretend my audio is playing up. I guess he's obviously never going to meet anyone in person ever again because now he's got the ultimate excuse for never answering questions that he doesn't like. Oh my Lord. Seriously, is anybody own businesses who haven't put up this man is never welcome in my business sticker up yet? Like, my God. So these things are being organized, and I look forward to having a meeting, continuing the constructive dialogue that I've had with the President Trump up to now. What constructive dialogue? The part where you said he fucking scares you and all the rest of it? What about, the point where, Rudd got stuck into him? You've got a whole team of people that have been an absolute toss bag towards Donald Trump. Why would he want to talk to any of these bloody wrecks? Absolute wrecks. Hang on. I'm going to fix this. Block element. Select, create. Oh. How did I do it before? There it is. Done. There you go. Don't you fucking put that shit on my screen, you mongrels. Sticking points in the US-Australian relationship, which are crying out to be addressed, include the AUKUS. I don't know, like AUKUS. It doesn't inspire confidence. Nuclear submarine deal. Just as the word itself, it just sounds a bit like raucous. I don't know. I hear the word, and I for some reason I have this picture of a seal clapping with a freaking ball on its nose. I don't know why. It's just what pops into my head. Which is currently under review by the Trump administration and punishing tariffs imposed by the US on Aussie imports, including a 50% levy on steel and aluminium. So he's ripping in pretty hard. And nobody seems confident that this useless twat can actually solve the problem. So Trump also reportedly does not like Australia's ambassador. Who would have thought? Kevin Dudd. Does anybody in Australia like him? And may view Rudd's ongoing tenure as a barrier to improve relations. No worry, truth. Wait till he meets Penny Wong. Rudd enjoys cross-party support in Australia, but his position has been under threat since past comments he made about Trump came to light. Oh, no shit. In November, shortly after Trump's election win, Daily Mail Australia revealed how Rudd never envisioned his comeback, calling his first term a period of episodic craziness. In other words, my God, you know. In other since deleted comments made online, Rudd labeled Trump a village idiot. You know, I thought that was Rudd, really. In fact, like the Labor Party is fundamentally the village, and it's full of idiots. Really, that's what I was going to get. I was going to get family. Remind me, we need to get the Spaceballs quote. About I'm surrounded by arseholes, because it just keeps coming up that I need that one for bringing in here, and it's a perfect opportunity. Anyway, if you haven't seen Spaceballs, ladies and gentlemen, go and watch it. Seriously, brilliant movie. Anyway, in other since deleted comments, we did that bit, didn't we? Village idiot and traitor to the West. I think you'll find anybody promoting Marxism, socialism, communism, or any of the other isms that are associated with left-heartedry. They're the ones who are the real traitors, much like Rudd. And the most destructive president in history. Struth, we've got the most destructive prime minister in history. These two will be peas in a pod. Elbow denies Rudd. Well, don't we all deny Rudd? Trump meeting is secret, you know. So he's desperate, you know. He's under fire. But anyway, let's keep moving along. I think we punished that one a little bit enough. RBA expects Trump's tariffs to have profound effect, but markets shrug and move on. This is a wonderful piece of ABC journalism, as usual. It's just stunning. Hang on. I've got a quote that goes along with the ABC quite well.
We don't lie like our previous winners, Whitman, Price, and Haddad. You remember them? There they are at this very moment, basking under the Maui sun.
Running Man, great movie. You haven't seen it? You should. It's very, very appropriate. I think the concept of the Running Man could be utilized for elitist scum as we, you know, figure out the dodgy deeds that they've done. Anyway, so the Reserve Bank's deputy governor says Donald Trump's tariff plans could have a profound impact on Australia's economy, and it's surprising to see financial markets shrug and move on. It's possibly because the ABC is fundamentally a Marxist socialist organization, doesn't understand the financial industry very well. Probably why they find it surprising, because they don't understand how anything really works. They live on government handouts. They're a part of the problem, as we were discussing earlier. You know, this is how you breed complacency. When you're constantly getting a fish every day and you don't have to go fishing, you don't understand how fishing happens. You know, you don't know how to catch a fish. Like I said, somebody teach me to fish, please. Anyway, but he said, given Trump's tariffs are one of the number of huge changes occurring in the global economy, it could take years to see what their final effects will be, much like a COVID jab, I assume. The day after Brexit happened, everyone thought the world would end, and it didn't. You know, that's a reoccurring theme throughout my life. You know, 1999 prediction from Nostradamus, still here. You know, Y2K bug, still here. You know, 2012 Mayan calendar, still here. Not that it ever said the world was going to end. It just said the end of an age. You know, certainly the end of an age, that's for sure. We're start. If this is the beginning of the new age, I'm not liking the way it started. Anyway. But 10 years on, you're seeing the profound effects of some of these changes for sustainable growth rates, you know, because they've got the stain of sustainable. For those of you who've been watching, you know all about that. And for fundamental things in the UK economy, that will have more important and lasting effects than here today, gone tomorrow problems. Look, this is garbage, really. Most of this is just garbage. Need a golden age of economic thinking. Well, we're not going to get that from the gay BC, that's for sure. Mr. Hauser made his comments about tariffs. Question and answer. All right, he said, defining macroeconomic challenges of our age. including the rolling back of free trade. Yes, getting rid of this free trade shit, it's been an absolute nightmare. That would be a great start. The implications of shifting geopolitical alliances, climate change. Fuck your climate change off already. Just call it weather. That's what it's always been. And the need to reinvigorate productivity and growth globally. Well, how are we going to do that with Marxist ideology? We understand that Marxism and communism and socialism just destroys shit. It doesn't help anything. It's caused more death and destruction to society, and it's been proven well and truly over the last 100 years. You want your statistics on it, go and read a history book. It's not hard. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Can Elbow actually, get anything sorted out? I doubt it. I don't reckon he could organise a piss on the brewery. So what's going on here? Why Elbow's cringeworthy comment to Trump during his crisis phone call was very poorly thought out. Straight, anything that comes out of his mouth is pretty poorly thought out, and it's usually cringeworthy. But anyway, how's this any different? Pleading his case for the US presidency not to apply a new 25% tariff on Aussie steel and aluminium exports. The announcement was made yesterday in a clear sign of where the power in the non-relationship between the two leaders lies. Almo told several journalists at his media conference soon after the telephone call that he was authorized to say that the outcome of the discussion was that imposing the tariff or not is now under consideration. Rightio. So he's not going to reveal too much. He probably got his pants taken down and gone, look, Elbow, do you realize how many nuclear missiles we have with American flags on it in your country? Do you really want to fuck with me? You seen what I did with them Arabs, yeah? We sorted them out, didn't we? Or did he? We've got Israel on our side, and who's running to create new anti-Semitic laws at the moment? Is it Elbow? Where's the real power lie here, do you think? Just wondering, Actually, there's another thing I noticed on the Redacted today. Or was it the other day? I can't remember. But isn't it fascinating how, when they talk about World War II, they continuously go on about the 6 million Jews, even though they've actually determined 100% that there wasn't 6 million Jews. And, even Jews themselves will say it wasn't 6 million Jews, but it's just a very convenient number, probably because of the prophecy associated with it, no doubt. But that's a whole nother story. I digress. But isn't it interesting that if you were to look at the movies and the way everything goes in the history books, you'd think only the Jews were the only ones that suffered. It was a war. Lots of people died. Not to say, hey, they shouldn't, be, looked at in any way, shape, or form. But shouldn't we look at all the other suffering that went on? Much like the fact that during World War II, the Japanese invented biological warfare. Isn't that an interesting point? No, it's 6 million Jews, gas chambers. It's the only thing we need to worry about, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, I don't even know how I got onto that, but let's keep moving. Just as Australians are adjusting to the idea of having their ages checked. Can I get a show of hands? Anybody adjusting to the idea of having your ages checked? Bend over, please. Papers, please. Digital papers, please. And then what's the picture? Facial recognition. Is anybody getting used to the idea? No, we're not. We're looking for ways to defend ourselves, I believe. I'm pretty confident that's how I'm dealing with it anyway. Anybody else out there? Please comment. Let me know. Australia is quietly introducing unprecedented age checks. At least they got the idea of unprecedented. They should have said draconian, disturbing, Orwellian, communistic, socialist, Marxist. Anybody else want to add a couple of words? No, it's a big resounding no. Nobody's getting used to this. So, Australians will soon be subjected to mandatory age checks. Here's that word again. Good old mandatory. Mandatory suicide, I believe, was the song by Slayer. Age checks across the internet landscape in what has been described as a huge and unprecedented change. Those are not the words I would use. Good old gay BC. Let's help you out with your journalism. What has been described as draconian, evil, megalomaniacal. Any other words we'd like to add, ladies and gentlemen? How else can we help the ABC with the shitty reporting? Search engines are next in line for the same controversial age assurance technology behind the teen social media ban, and other parts of the internet are likely to follow suit. At the end of June, Australia quietly introduced rules forcing companies such as Google and Microsoft to check the ages of logged-in users in an effort to limit children's access to harmful content, such as the Labor Party's propaganda, gay BC shit-ass news, and any other left-hearted fuckwittery. Oh, sorry, I think I ad-libbed there. So harmful content such as pornography, that's worked really well, you know. Yeah, what they're so concerned about children. What have they done about, you know, the grooming? What have they done about the abuse? What have they done about rape gangs? What have they done about importing the wrong kinds of people who don't give a shit about, you know, say women not walking around in bed sheets? What have they done about all the kiddie porn that all these teachers seem to have, and I guess lawyers, and, you know, all those people that Senator Heffernan was talking about? Oh, that's right. Parliamentary suppression. Stupid. Silly me. They suppressed it. That's right. Anyway, but they allowed it to continue. Fundamentally, again, fanning the flames of the fire that is Australia. But experts have warned the move could compromise Australians' privacy online and may not do much to protect young people. Holy shit. Now, I think the ABC might have finally gotten at least a fragment of an idea here. You know, but experts, I want to know who these experts are. Shall we proceed and see if we can find out? I have not seen anything like this anywhere else in the world, said Lisa Given, Professor of Information Sciences from MRIT, who specializes in age assurance technology. How do you specialize in a technology that you've never seen before? Am I reading this correctly? She says, I've not seen anything like this anywhere else in the world, says the professor of information sciences at MIT who specializes in age assurance technology, something that hasn't even really been created yet. This is leftist propaganda straight up. I mean, she's given herself a ridiculous title of a concept that doesn't exist and says, I've never seen it before. That's like me saying, you know, well, I'm now the new designated NASA rocket scientist, and I've never seen a rocket ship before. I've never built a rocket ship before even, you know, and it's fucking true. Anyway, as people learn about the implications of this, we will likely see people stepping up and saying, wait a minute, why wasn't I told that this was going to happen? Probably because I weren't paying attention as usual. Anyway, from December 27th, Google, which dominates the Australian search market with a share of more than 90%, and its rival Microsoft, will have have to use some form of age assurance technology on users when they sign in, or face fines of almost 50 million per breach. Now, how this is going to, obviously this is where we're bringing in the Chinese, and I have to wonder how hard Madam RMIT here actually went and looked at what the Chinese have managed to achieve with their facial recognition and all the other filthy shit that they do over in communist China land there with their 15-minute cities already ready to rock and whatnot. How much has she actually looked at this shit, you know, to say that she's never seen it, because we know that it's happening over there. How, I mean, I want to know how they're going to police this. I mean, if anybody breaches it, are they going to voluntarily tell you? I mean, how many people have already gone through and broken through systems? I mean, truth, I've been doing it all my life. I've been going through and breaking through and finding backdoors to all this shit. This is just another challenge to me. And, you know, much like you have a look at the Matrix, for instance, Neo. Well, he's making money out of breaking software and doing all that shit. We're developing a new age of criminal here, where criminals are just a lot smarter. And considering the average intelligence of a police officer, and I'm sorry for those out there that actually can add 2 and 2 together, you know, the general intelligence of a police officer is generally pretty low. They even hire reporters, I've seen, which is fucking astounding, you know. But anyway, last time I had a cybercrime to report, I went down to the cop shop and I said, what are you going to do? Oh, we can't do anything. You need to take this to the cybercrime division. It's just like you see on TV, says this drongo woman behind the counter. You know, they just bounce it off satellites and stuff like that, just like on TV. We couldn't possibly figure this stuff out. You know, it's just too hard. Wow. So we don't even have a police force capable of dealing with what we've already got, which is actual crime. What they're, like, why don't you solve the real crimes that we already have problems for instead of creating a whole new level of bullshit that doesn't even need to be solved, as far as I can see? Has anybody actually seen any real problems here emerging from, the internet where we need some sort of age verification? Personally, I know of none. And at no point have I seen, even in the gay BC's horrific presentation, have they demonstrated at any point that this is a necessary thing. The search results for logged in users under the age of 18 will be filtered for pornography, high impact violence, material promoting eating disorders, and a range of other content. At no point do they seem to be targeting self-mutilation or, self-harm, such as the LGBT movement and their transgender ideology. Funny, double standards. Despite the apparent magnitude of the shift, it has mostly gone unnoticed, in stark contrast to the political and media fanfare surrounding the teen social media ban, which will block under 16s from major platforms using similar technology. Now, given that the general idea of the socialist Marxist left is to try and get the young on board because they're impressionable and otherwise ill-informed, they're generally easy targets for the socialist Marxist construct. This is not a good move. You're getting rid of your base. They must be really sure on the idea that all these people they're importing are going to somehow save them in the next election, because they're about to lose the youth market here and a hell of a lot of other markets as well. People are going to be pissed off about this. Pretty confident they're going to be pissed off. But that said, I was also pretty confident that the Australian people would wake up to what the hell was going on, and the most blatant lie I'd ever seen during COVID 1984. But unfortunately, a lot of people had to go out there and actually get the poison before they realized, oh shit, I think that was a bad idea. Anyway. Oh, I don't know. Can we just skip to the end? They've written a whole bunch of shit and it's just crap at this point. I'm worried that Australia is going down this path of bringing in age assurance for any and all internet access. No shit. This is very much the new reality, and I think they are significant privacy concerns. No shit. So, I mean, even the gay BCs are struggling to sell this. Are we really, as a country, willing to accept that age assurance is going to be required for every single thing we do online? Are we already pissed off about how many passwords and bullshit you got to deal with? It's all right. Don't worry. We're the government. We've solved this problem. Digital ID. Just swipe your fingerprint and get your face scanned, and we'll solve all other problems with our help, friends from the Chinese ready to help you. Oh, my God. This government has made no secret of its strong commitment to online safety. Fuck off to all Australians, while recognising the need to balance this imperative with protecting the privacy of users. You guys couldn't organise a piss on a brewery. By God. That's all right. Craig Kelly here had something to say about it. Many people have suggested VPNs are the way around this, and they might be correct. However, the Senate Estimates Bureaucracy from the e-Safety Karen's office talked about using AI to scan social media posts to detect Australians. So even if you're hiding behind a system, you go, I mean, let's face it, we're all going to have to create new social media accounts to be able to bypass this, because everything you've got has already been logged as you're an Australian, right? And we're going to have to use fake names, fake profiles, fake pictures, and we're bringing Australia back to the beginning, and we have to start again, and we all have to pretend to be in America or some other such place via VPNs and whatnot in order to discuss things. And of course, the basic problem here is, as soon as you take a picture of yourself at the MCG or watching the footy, or had a great surf, or all these things that Kelly's pointed out, all you have to hey, is an elbow a complete cock knocker? Who else in the world cares about him? You're instantly flagged as Australian. And Madam Hitler here, who's bringing in equal opportunity for all Nazi loving people, she's going to be onto it. Hey, look at that. Robin's a second in the feed. Non-compliance is the only way forward. So the real question is, how much is people? Yep. How much are people actually going to fight back here? How hard is this? But anyway, speaking of fighting back, Jeffrey Epstein client list does not exist. Really? I've only been talking about it for fucking years. It's actually labeled as sexual offenses here, even by the gay BC, and they'd know about these things. I'm pretty sure they're probably somewhat specialists. So I wouldn't be surprised if they hand around underage children in their own studios. But US, probably immigrants too. US Justice Department says, so the US Justice Department has publicly walked back on a theory it possessed Epstein's client list. It said it had videos and pictures of Epstein and its victims, which it would not be realizing as much of, or releasing as much of it was sealed by the court. So, I mean, this whole thing's just a joke, isn't it? At this point, anyone you know needs help, straight away, suicide call back service. Isn't it interesting that straight away when we're looking at this, do you need help? Like, was reading this news that bad, or are they just that aware of the abuse that they facilitate the covering of by reporting so poorly? It's an interesting concept, isn't it? I mean, this little thing in this article says more than the article itself, I think. The announcement that the well-connected Epstein did not have a list of clients to whom underage girls were trafficked, because they're probably boys as well, probably underage people, in persons, humans, insert word, sexual slaves, were trafficked, represents a public walk back of a theory the Trump administration had helped promote. So now they're trying to go, it's a theory that the Trump administration conjured up. So you see the ABC's working to cover this up, because I swear to God, they're a part of it. With Attorney General Pam Bondi, well, I don't swear to God that they are. I swear to God, I believe that they are. I'll correct that. General Pam Bondi suggests in a Fox News interview earlier this year that such a document was sitting on my desk for review, So it's just ridiculous. It's a new administration and everything is going to come out to the public, they said. Well, where is it? Declassified. It's interesting that how just a few weeks ago, or was it a month or more, that when the Elon Trump split occurred, Elon went straight to, he's not going to show it to you because he's on it, and now all of a sudden, it doesn't exist. Oh, look, Epstein Files Phase 1. Is it just a pretty little piece of packaging? So it doesn't do a lot of credibility for the Trump administration, fundamentally. One of our highest priorities in combating child exploitation and bringing justice to victims, Yeah, I guess that's why we need all that internet security, hey? You got to love this. Far-right influencers express outrage. Shouldn't everybody be outraged? It's just, again, you could just see the gay BC here. They want this kind of filth in society. They think it's acceptable, clearly. It's okay. It's only far-right influencers that are upset about the Epstein list, bloody lunatics. Why can't we all fuck children? I mean, come on. Anyway, what's a little bit more disturbing here, though, is Alex Jones here has an idea of how these things are going to go. And I think I better just bring old mate in. I'm going to put, there it is. And well, let's hear from Mr. Jones himself.
Control. He didn't do it. They're shutting it down from everything I've seen. He is taking control of the FBI CIA blackmail file, and now I suddenly see this deep state more and more rolling over. People say, well, that's very immoral to do. The argument would be it's too damaging to bring this act and bring down the whole government. I'm not endorsing that, but the best approximation I've got is they get the files, they raid the FBI. The FBI raided the FBI 5 months ago. When they hid the files in New York, they make the guy resign that was covering it up, and Comey's daughter's still there. They then load the gun, cock the gun, point at the deep state's head, and now suddenly the NATO, everybody's kissing Trump's butt, and it looks like Trump is now in control of the file, and obviously they're not going to read in the FBI. It's the CIA and Ratcliffe doing it. The best approximation I've got, it is speculation, but I got a lot of points, is that Trump has decided to just use the file against them. What do you think, Judge?
I think you're right on point with that. I think a great deal of what happened with Smith and Millargo when the FBI raided it some years ago, and this thing that clearly they had no standing to go against about him supposedly having classified confidential documents, when, as we have discussed, the President of the United States under the Constitution as chief diplomat and commander-in-chief has been held to have absolutely unquestionable authority as to what he declares either confidential and secret or decides to declare is not such. So my sneaking suspicion is that a lot of what he refused to turn over to the archivist, which was unconstitutional in terms of what it was trying to put in place through statutory override of constitutional authority, which is wrong, is that there was wrongdoing that if he turned it over to the archivist was going to be turned over to the people who were recorded doing wrong, and they would destroy it. So we had an obligation to the people to maintain control of that, which he did. And I see absolutely nothing wrong with it. And it's been dropped. It's dead. It's not there, but he knows that. And I have a sneaking suspicion that when the investigations are completed and they're solid, we're going to start seeing something come out of it.
Well, I don't know. I wasn't really convinced by what was said and seen here. I'm just going back through some of those comments. I did ask earlier. There's a few more people in the room now. Obviously, turning up a bit later works for some people. So the earlier question was 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock start. Does that work? So far, we seem to have resounding 8 o'clock is okay. Everybody seems to like it. And one more question. What's on my T-shirt? Only one of Metal's greatest albums. So Metallica, Master of Puppets, very, very fitting sort of scenario for what we're dealing with in some ways. Anyway, there you go. That's the answer to that question. Yeah, throw your two bobs in. Are you guys okay with 8 o'clock? Let me know, especially if you're watching this afterwards rather than live. Were you a live viewer that no longer watches it because it's too late now? I don't know. I'm just curious. I want some user feedback on this. We'll let it run for a little while. We'll see how it goes. So I'm not 100% convinced. Again, Elon Musk is straight onto it. Sorry, I have to add the screen again. And, where is the official Jeffrey Epstein pedophile arrest counter? At fuck all. Much, very, very similar to our earlier counter for Democrats being prosecuted for all the crimes they've committed. It's funny. Very funny, isn't it? How, we all expected Trump to do something. He came in strong. He was ready to rock. He was going to show us all this stuff, and bit of a letdown with the JFK stuff. Nothing seems to have really emerged of any great new news there. Like, we didn't get any smoking gun from that. It was a bit of a fall flat in the face. Now the Epstein list doesn't even exist. No arrests. The Clinton family's still walking around. Bill Gates is still walking around. Like, come on, Trump. He started wars when he was supposed to be the anti-war president. The guy's not doing very well. He's not doing very well. I still think it's probably a better choice than Caramel Harris, as Wayne calls her. I think that's a wonderful idea of Wayne's. I'm going to keep using it. Good on you, mate. But yeah. Seriously, Trump, this Trump term is turning out to be a giant letdown at this particular juncture in time, I think. I, for one, am not impressed. Anyway, so cancer rates in Australia under 50 are rising at a pace that's alarming, doctors and scientists. Alarming doctors and scientists, they say. Is anyone actually surprised? I mean, as we stated in previous podcasts, Has anybody ever heard of turbo cancer up until recently? I mean, I'd never heard the term before. But it's okay, because this has been going on for 20 years. And they're only bringing it to your attention now, according to this article, which I thought was interesting, And it starts with the heartfelt. Here's the face of the person. We've got one person, 39-year-old, who has advanced bowel cancer. And look, I feel sorry for the poor bugger. I'd hate to wake up and find that sort of scenario too. But it's just a typical bleeding heart scenario. Considering there's so many people, we're just going to focus in on one victim. We've got our one poor person, and, look, at the end of the day, it's hundreds of thousands of people, no doubt. That's probably similar to a lot of young people, because you shouldn't be getting it. Australians aged 30 to 40s are experiencing unprecedented and, in some cases, world-leading rates of at least 10 different types of cancer, and scientists are desperate to understand why. Maybe they should tune into this podcast a little bit more, because I think we've got it all pretty nutted out, ladies and gentlemen. Stop injecting poisons. Stop putting poison in the food, But you guys keep calling it far-right conspiracy theories. Like, come on. It's pretty straightforward stuff. It's obvious what's going on here. I mean, the pharmaceutical industry is the second richest industry for a reason. Just like the arms industry, they both deal in death and destruction. And their main customer, people who want to cause that kind of stuff. Because, hang on, you thought you were the customer, the one who gets to buy the drugs. No. The real customers are the people selling it, because they're the ones making the money. You got to think about the economics here. Anyway. So, if there's not bowel cancer in your family, how come you've got cancer, and how come you got it at a young age? Good question, isn't it? Because it's supposed to be all about family history, they keep saying. I'm still called a conspiracy theorist. Mate, I just get used to it. I've been dealing with it since I was 15 years old. But anyway, technical term for this phenomenon is early onset cancer, and it is rising. Isn't it good they've got a technical term for getting cancer at a young age, calling it early onset cancer? The stupid shit they come out with. We've got a technical term for it. So, do you feel better? I mean, your asshole's bleeding. You got this giant cancerous mess coming out your bumhole, but it's okay. We've got a technical term for it. Do you feel better? I don't think I would. Data provided at Four Corners by Cancer Australia. I mean, now here's an industry that has achieved what? It's possibly one of the most well-funded, has the most funding drives. I mean, to the point where for quite some time now, people turn around and go, why aren't you getting behind the cancer cause? I'm just like, for fuck's sake, all my life, I've been watching you people go around and milk every last penny out of everybody who's been affected by this. And you've achieved what exactly? The federal government's cancer agency. I mean, there you go. It's the federal government's cancer agency. It just sounds like a money laundering operation to me. Paints a concerning picture for young people. It should paint a concerning picture for everybody. Between 2000 and 2024, and the 30 to 39s, almost early onset prostate cancer. I love the early onset, increased by 500%. Pancreatic cancer, 200%. Liver cancer, 150%. Uterine cancer, 138%. And kidney cancer at 85%. They seem to be all targeting around a very similar region in the body, wouldn't you agree? Some increases, such as prostate cancer, might be explained by changes in the way they are diagnosed, but most cannot. So they're trying to say, oh, well, we're just finding it better. That's all it is. It's not that there's more cancer. We're just better at finding it. Pity you're not better at sorting it out, is it? So there are approximately 10 cancers that have this increase to varying percentages. I mean, I like the way they got variations of cancers. Like, again, is this the greatest achievement of all this thousands and trillions and God knows how much money has been donated to the cancer councils and various other cancer organizations? The best thing they've managed to do is A, find them better and label them better. Wow. You know what? I got my new little sticky patch and I wrote a new name on it and I labeled it better than I put it in a pigeonhole. Yeah. Are we going to cue it? Going to need some more money. Quick. Another rally for money. Get around there, show them some disfigured children, some young people suffering, another shitty ABC article. Yep, cool. Round that money up. Bring that money in. Yep, cool. Well, we'll find a cure this decade, I swear. In the meantime, are you aware of the fact that we can cure flu with a new jab? We just figured it out last week. Don't you want to try some? It's never been tested. Go for it. I was actually talking to a bloke today. He was telling me how, yeah, I'm pretty sure since I got that jab, my health's been a lot worse since that. I'm like, and I said to him straight up, buddy, all my life the Cancer Council's been working on a cure for cancer. It's well over 40 years, man. I've been listening to how they were going to cure cancer. Did you really think they were going to cure the China sniffles with an injection they conjured up last week? Oh, I never thought of it like that. I'm like, oh, fuck. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. There's another way of trying to break through some of the toughest shells. How to rub out some of the toughest stains. It's like some sort of a bad commercial, you know. Yeah, just walk them through how the Cancer Council's done fuck all. Cancer has traditionally been a disease of aging, and bowel cancer, breast cancer, lung cancer, they all increase with age. But over the last 20 years, there's been a real, it's small in absolute numbers, but it is a real increase in the numbers of younger adults developing these. And it's interesting how they put it's a small absolute number. It's just small, but there is a real increase, you know. Like, make up your mind. Is it bad or isn't it? This is the kind of half-assed sort of shit you expect from the gay BC. Australia isn't the only country seeing higher rates. Of course not. Large amounts of data from the US Cancer Registry show even more pronounced trend. Probably because it's where a lot of this shit gets started up, with bad food, more plastics, more jabs, all this kind of shit. It's pretty bad. It's all pretty bad. But we all know where it's coming from. We talk about it all the time. So let's get down to the bottom. You know, again, different cancers, different causes. I love the way they go through all the little itemizations, all the wonderful what's changed. Fuck all. More people are getting it. That's the only thing that's really changed. I'll sum that part up. Exposure to the unfamiliar. What great journalism. I'm still waiting for that. Does the next generation have the answers? We've abandoned all hope. Ye who enter here. We're waiting for the next generation to sort it out because we fucking couldn't. Oh, my God. And it ends, it's a stormy, dark period, but, you know, it's possible to survive. Oh, my God. Oh, wow. All right. Well, there's that shitty article out of the way. Next. Multiple car hits during a high-speed police chase. Thanks to my good friend Rocket for sending this stuff through. So this happened just today. Apparently, we've had some lunatic coming through. Multiple car hits during a high-speed chase from one side of the city to the other, starting in good old Dandenong, which is always a place of wonderful reputation, and ending in Streets. Where was it? I can see it in my head. I'm just trying to think of the name. It's all right. We'll come to it eventually. So what it's all about, we still don't know. Fundamentally, why, we don't know. What we do know is it was a really cool looking police car chase. And I think the police could solve a lot more problems if they conducted arrests in this manner. So, you know, particularly when dealing with assholes who deserve it. So let's just bring in this little bit of footage that my mate sent me. I love the way he just jumped out of the truck, goes running along, and boom. And in case you're wondering, yes, that was the cops who hit him. So I've been dodging and weaving through traffic. You know, it's you can see it's in a good state of sparks fly out the side there, taking out all sorts of, just like this guy's playing Grand Theft Auto in real life. I shouldn't be laughing. Fortunately, no one was really hurt except for the dickhead who jumped out the fucking car. Look at this. And he executes a beautiful roll only to be hit by a car operated by the coppers. And he's and compassionately arrested. Yeah, I'm just gonna watch the compassionately arrested part. Oh. Oh yeah, follow us for the details, right? So we go over to follow him for the details. Oh, I'm sure he was real innocent. All right. Police have arrested a man after he allegedly carjacked a van and led police on an erratic chase across Melbourne, hitting several vehicles along the way. The 9 News helicopter captured the wild chase as the heavily damaged van travelled on its rims, sparks flying towards Melbourne's southwest on the Westgate Freeway. You know, I mean, he must have picked a good time of day because that's usually a friggin' car park. But anyway, helicopter footage showed the van weaving in and out of traffic on the Westgate Bridge, clipping multiple cars and narrowly missing dozens of other vehicles. The van was involved in collisions with several parked and moving vehicles. At this stage, it is understood there are no serious injuries. After appearing to travel at high speeds, either he was or he wasn't, you know, up the Westgate Freeway and onto the Princess Freeway for about 15 minutes. The van exited the freeway at Palmer's Road at Point Cook. Oh, yeah, another wonderful place. The one road in, one road out, last I checked. The van performed a sharp right turn onto Dunnings Road. Then car sped through to... Is that right? Then the car. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. Then the car sped through 2 street signs, which became snagged under the front wheels of the van. Footage then showed a man who police allege is 36, old, from Point Cook, so he's just busting to get home from Dandenong after he scored a good whack of meth or something from down that way, being hit by a trailing unmarked police vehicle. Several police officers pounced on the alleged offender and he was handcuffed and taken into custody. He was later assessed by paramedics and was transported to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries under police guard, probably because he was so wasted he didn't realize he'd been hit. He probably just rolled with it. Oh, fuck, what was that, man? That was one hell of a hit, man. He is yet to be interviewed by police. Police say the incident began after officers were called to St Kilda Road in Melbourne about 5:40 a.m. following reports a man's van was stolen. 5:40 a.m. straight. He just beat the traffic. The van was then spotted in Footscray before the air wing and the police on the ground followed it through several suburbs, including Melbourne, Port Melbourne, Spotswood. You're going to go through every bloody... So anyway, the high-speed chase was has left traffic crawling on the Westgate Bridge. Has left it crawling? That's a standard friggin' position. You know, by about 6 o'clock, I'm surprised there wasn't more traffic on the road, where 2 outbound lanes are closed following a multi-vehicle collision. Oh, wow. So, yeah, it was definitely... Nobody was going anywhere all day. Emergency crews, including an ambulance, are on site. Just one inbound lane is open on Kings Way near Park Street. Motorists are advised to take St Kilda Road to avoid delays. I'm so glad you told me. I told you this now, that it should solve your traffic problems by now because it's probably still banked up. Anybody living in that shithole, let me know. Is the traffic still fucked? I wouldn't be surprised. It is Melbourne. So anyway, a woke fire chief delayed response to floods. Did I do anything with that? What do we got here? I think I might have done something with that. Anyway, I didn't get a chance to see it. Come to think of it, I don't think I even watched it. I was going to. It was on my list of things to do. Let's go to this one. Nope, not that one. Bloody disappeared again. Share screen. So, good old Jake Soy sent me this one. Thanks, buddy. No, you sent me the other one. You sent me the cancer one, didn't you? Sorry, was it? Or was it this one? No, it is. This is the one you sent. Sorry, getting confused. Thanks, Jake Sawyer. Health regulators issued warnings as vaccine given to millions is linked to debilitating illness. Now, I got a good chuckle out of this one. I'm sure you will too. You know, it is the Australian way to laugh at tragic shit. and that's probably the only way we can really deal with the scenario at this particular point. NHS staff must now warn patients of a rare, and got to love it, it's a rare neurological reaction linked to a new vaccine given to millions of pensioners and pregnant women after a string of cases. Like, it just keeps going. Like, people are still queuing up for this shit. What the hell? The Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, MHRA, shouldn't it be fuck all? Would probably be a better acronym for it. But anyway, issued the alert for 2 versions of a jab that protects against respiratory sins. Like, straight up, it protects. There's no ifs, buts, and maybes. This shit protects you from good old RSV. It sounds like it should be a remote control car or something. But anyway, respiratory syncytial virus, whatever that is. So somebody help me pronounce that. Can you just say it for me? Say it really loud, all together. Go. I might hear it. Anyway, this alert was issued after reports of 21 patients, all over 60, developing Guillain-Barré syndrome after being vaccinated. Well, like, at least there were no fucking arounds. Yep, they got vaccinated, and this happened right after it. If only they were that way with the COVID 1984 one. Guillain-Barré syndrome is a rare, of course, it's always rare, but serious neurological disorder which needs urgent treatment in hospital to prevent it progressing. Now, I want to know how many times this rare neurological disorder had occurred beforehand. I haven't had time to research it. So, I'm just going to have to leave the question hanging. If anybody takes the time to do the research, please send it my way. I'd love to know how rare it is, how it was first discovered, and what normally causes it when it's not being caused by a vaccine. It can affect people's senses, movement, breathing, and heartbeat, and usually starts with the arms and legs before spreading to other areas. Wow, sounds isolated. And hang on, it affects their breathing. Wasn't it supposed to help respiratory issues? Is this a case of the medicine being worse than the disease? Holy shit. And or the preventative measure. Like, I mean, they didn't even get sick. It's not even medicine. This is we're supposed to be like preventing a respiratory issue, but now it's causing it. This is fucking retarded. Not to mention, it can cause heart attacks. Fuck with your movement. Even fuck with your senses. I mean, we only had one problem we were trying to fix. We're only trying to solve one problem, but we're causing a hell of a lot of others. There's that cause and effect shit again, ladies and gentlemen. Cause and effect. Sips. And what was that one? RSV stands for brain damage from the last one. Okay. How the fuck can a bio-shot in the arm help with respiratory symptom? Wow, it helped cause it. That's how it helped. It helped cause one. It helped, make sure you couldn't move very far. It made sure your senses were rat shit. It made sure your heartbeat was all messed up too. But it usually starts in the arms and the legs. It gets more ridiculous the more I read it. Because last I checked, the breathing and the heartbeat stuff, that was in the chest. And the senses, that was in the head. But it starts in the arms and the legs because, the eyeballs on the end of your fingertips, Anyway, maybe I watched too much Beetlejuice. The alert doesn't mean the jab has been withdrawn. Wow. And it was nice of them to call it a jab. So yet it's been categorized as another jab-like problem. But astoundingly, it doesn't mean the jab has been withdrawn. Of course not. It's only causing huge neurological problems that mess with people's hearts and lungs and every other part of the friggin' body. Why would you take it off the market? It's not like it's a machete. It doesn't harm people. It's not like guns. We had to get rid of guns because Martin Bryant ran around. This stuff's doing 21 patients. 21 patients. Like, how many patients does it need? Like, how many people did Martin Bryant allegedly knock on the head? Because we never had a trial to prove that he did. So we have to leave it in the category of allegedly, don't we? Only 21. What are we going to get to 40 before we can take it off the market? I don't know. It didn't work for the COVID thing, did it? Anyway. In fact, good old experts at it again, said the benefits of being protected against it, which kills 8,000 adults and 100 babies each year and hospitalized, outweighs the small risk of Heart problems, lung problems, being able to move, being able to see, hear, your basic senses, walk down the street. Don't worry, you'll start in your arms and legs, which might fall off well and truly before. Isn't that worth the risk, ladies and gentlemen? Are you inspired? Oh my God. How can you take any of this shit seriously? It's just absolutely mystifying, you know? I mean, and doesn't these pictures just inspire you with warm and fuzzy feelings? I mean, the only thing that can make it better is like one of those creepy guys in a freaking white outfit, all goggled and bloody masked up and whatnot. No, nothing says safe and effective like a hazmat suit. Healthcare professionals should advise all recipients of the Abrasivo and RXVY. It's almost like they got confused about the order of the friggin' alphabet. That they should be alert to signs and symptoms. You know, so it's okay to keep administering this shit. Just be aware that this could happen to you. You've got to be shitting me. The watchdog's warning follows a similar one issued by the US health chiefs in January. My God. The US was warning people in January, and you guys waited till July to find your own 21 problems. My God, these people are just absolute idiots, like UK experts, because I'm sure the ones in the UK do a better job. American officials also said while awareness of the risk of Guillain-Barré syndrome was important, taking jab is eligible and still recommended. By God, hold still, motherfucker. Whoever wrote this, hold still. You're next. You recommend it? Cool. Bend over, motherfucker. I got a place to stick it for you. Far out. All right. The symptoms can include tingling, numbness, or pins and needles in the feet and hands, muscle weakness, and difficulty moving joints, not to mention, you know, heart palpitations, lung issues. Oh, my God. May also be problems breathing. Oh, sorry, I jumped the gun. And drooping face muscles. Cool, you get to look like you're completely. You look like you ever seen RoboCop when he falls in the vat of toxic waste? Like, fucking hell. Or trouble swallowing or speaking. We got to get the toxic waste scene from RoboCop happening too. That's another one, lady. My wonderful family, please remind me. Scene from RoboCop and whatever it was I said before. I hope you're taking notes because I've forgotten. Here's a wonderful artist representation of what it looks like when you get screwed over by a vaccine. Up to June 2nd, MHRA, another alphabet gang, has received 21 yellow card reports. Look out, it's yellow card. We haven't taken old mate off the field. It's just a yellow card. Reports of suspected Gillian. I'm just thinking of like, what's her name from bloody X-Files, Guillain-Barré syndrome. Yeah, I'm guessing that's bear or beret, perhaps. It looks like Frenchy thing, maybe. Guillain-Barré. Maybe if we put a Frenchy sound to it, it'll sound a little bit more stimulating, and you'll want to go and get a shot. Syndrome in older adults, age 75 to 79, were known after they were given the Abrasivo vaccine. I swear they make these friggin' words up, you know. Maybe if we make it so they can't pronounce it, and they spend most of their time trying to figure out what the brand name is, they won't want to read the rest of the insert that says will cause death. This out of almost 2 million doses of the unpronounceable word administered, it said. The MHRA has not received any yellow card reports of the Guillain-Barré syndrome following the Avexavi. It's like trying to learn a new language. However, it noted there has been very limited use of this vaccine in the UK to date. Oh my God. It's just ridiculous. Here we go. Symptoms. I love the way they're giving me a wonderful chart with little pictures and everything. Just in case you are stupid enough to want to take this, check this shit out. Symptoms of the RSV, colds, and COVID. Isn't it nice of them to put it all in a one package? You know, it could be any one of these things. Anyway, you know, common cold, RSV, COVID. Yep, you got a fever. So don't worry about the common cold. You won't. If it's a common cold, you won't have a fever. If you got RSV, you won't have a fever. Oh my God. Oh, if you've got a cough, look, you could be dying of all three. Look out, You remember the idea that you shouldn't go and self-diagnose, and you shouldn't go to the internet for advice. Look out, we've scrapped that. We've got a new code of conduct straight off the internet to induce paranoia at any given moment. Have you got a cough? That's right, you're fucked. You could be dying from all three of them in one hit. Look out, ladies and gentlemen. Have you got a headache? Don't worry, it's only RSVP. Only RSVP for the RSV, because common cold and COVID are out. Sore throat, that's it. Common cold. Don't worry about the other two. But hang on, every time you go in there, have you got a sore throat in case you have COVID? They're lying. They're lying. They ask the doctors all the bloody time. I've gotten a very routine ability to not cough, sneeze. Even it wouldn't matter what's wrong with me. I have a great ability to look them straight in the eye and go, "I'm fine, mate." Runny or blocked nose. Whoop, 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 whoop. Apparently, COVID doesn't cause these things, but you can't go into a hospital because you might have COVID causing to it. All right, sneezing. Well, that one's out. Don't worry. If you COVID, you don't sneeze, apparently. I'm glad this chart's here to sort these things out. Itchy, red, or watery eyes. Don't worry. None of the above. You're safe. It's okay. It's probably just hay fever. Go back to sleep. Aches and pains, common cold, RSV, COVID, it could be. I'm guessing the orange is the could be. Now, I was assuming that it's not to worry about, but it's a could be scenario. Obviously, X's are, right? So there was no chart here. Oh, down the bottom. I didn't read that. Dum, da, dum, dum, dum. Green tick, occasional, and never. Rightio. Now we've read shouldn't that be at the top? Anyway, so don't worry. Diarrhea could happen with COVID. It's truth. The only thing that doesn't happen is the watery, itchy red eyes. Everything else is possible with COVID, apparently. Everything else is possible with a common cold, except for just a couple of things. Shortness of breath, diarrhea, nausea, and vomiting. Anyway, I think I've had enough laughing at this, especially after I made myself look stupid. But anyway, there's your wonderful chart, ladies and gentlemen. How to self-diagnose in a world where you're not supposed to self-diagnose. Wow. Anyway, this is just hilarious. This is hilarious. And another wonderful example of how I should probably read things a little bit more before I start the show. But it's okay. We survived. It's been fun. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. Let's check a couple of videos in before we wind this motherfucker up. All right. So what do we got here? Why not? Let's do something a little bit more humorous. I found this one and I got a chuckle out of it.
Football,
snake,
ice,
animal,
kangaroo.
And what's your favorite car, Australia?
Holden.
Let me see, that's football, meat pies, kangaroos, and Holden cars, huh?
Right.
Well, you sure sound like Australia to me.
We are.
Well, then you better tell me again, because I just might forget.
We love football, meat pies, kangaroos, and Holden cars. Football, meat pies, kangaroos, and Holden cars.
That's football, meat pies, kangaroos, and Holden cars.
Football and meat pies, kangaroos, and Holden cars.
I think you better tell me again.
We love football, meat pies, kangaroos, and Holden cars.
In case you're wondering, this commercial is brought to you by football, meat pies, kangaroos, and Australia's own car.
They go together underneath the southern stars. Football and meat pies, kangaroos, and Holden cars.
Makes sense to me.
Football, meat pies, kangaroos.
Wow. Remember those days? Remember those days? I swear there was a couple of meat pies and kangaroos that looked a little bit more interesting than a meat pie and a kangaroo and that. I miss those days. Back in the day where you could be proud of your country. Back in the day where you could turn the television on and, find something to watch, I guess. I can't find a better way to describe that scenario. I mean, there's absolutely nothing to watch at the moment, really. Anytime I do watch the TV, because it's one little thing that I'm curious about, like, did Queensland kick the shit out of New South Wales, for instance? I'm absolutely perplexed at how people can spend so much time watching this utter crap. So, awesome. I love that. I'm already in tears. Love it. Thank you. I'm here to perform. Hope you're enjoying it. But yeah, those were the days, weren't they? Chucked on the old Crocodile Dundee the other day. Get the new generation of young'uns properly educated. Those important scenes are the young ones are starting to take a liking to crocodiles because, you know, we see them all the time here, you know, and they think they're amazing. I'm like, well, you know, maybe you should see the more traumatic side of crocodiles in case you decide to go and pat one, considering my 2-year-old tried to stick his finger through the grill holes at the wildlife museum the other day. Was it I've gone blank, I can't remember what it's called. It's just down the road. Anyway, he's seen a crocodile and he wanted to pat the thing. So it's important to educate them to the fact that, no, that they can take more than your finger, mate. Anyway, here's another one. Not so humorous, but equally as important.
Indeed, if we look back, a little over 50 years ago, the Club of Rome and a group of MIT researchers published the Limits of Growth report. It mapped the interaction between population growth, the economy, and the environment. And it came 50 years ago to a drastic conclusion. Stop economic and population growth, or else our planet will not cope. And as you know, this report has sparked a long controversy.
Sparked a long controversy, eh? So they say. Who would have thunk? So, you know, mentioning things like the Club of Rome just made you sound like a fruitcake before, but it's all right. We got the video here, you know, these wonderful people beyond growth who are telling you we need to stop growth. And, you know, the Greenie EFA there in the background and all these other STD logos and EPPs and, you know, I don't know, you can she P, he P, PPP, whatever. Anyway, there's a wonderful book. If you haven't got a hold of it, there is a copy of it because it's for free for distribution. So I've distributed it. It is available on the Telegram page. You'll have to go back a bit. But if you haven't gone through and read this, you should. It certainly goes through to the true nature of the Club of Rome. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere around the back here. There's some good shit in here. One of these days, I'll have time to reread it and go through and pick the peanuts out of it, you know, so to speak. But a one world Soviet system, I like that. You know, the communist leaders knew in advance that the structure of the UN could be used forever to prevent it from ever acting against the communists through its high-placed U.S. agent, a trustee of the U.S. president, Alger Hiss. His cooperation to that end began as follows. Alger Hiss was to be the Secretary General of the United Nations Organization Conference in San Francisco when the charter was written and adopted that. In his due role as Secretary General and the top State Department official for UN affairs, he could channel his choices into key positions in the newly forming UN Secretariat. 1948. So look at the years of doing this stuff. You know, it's like straight off the back of full-blown socialism going, hang on, Hitler was onto something, but he wasn't the one we wanted to run it. Or was he? Who knows? Protective 1948 when Agnes Hiss was exposed as a communist agent. The web of protective propaganda which guards the UN prevented most Americans from learning that he had been the UN's chief architect. Disciplined members of the worldwide communist conspiracy were informed almost immediately that the UN was planned as the agency which will smash the anti-Soviet intrigues of imperialist reactions. The entire red scheme for the UN was revealed in a communist pamphlet. The United Nations published in English in September by the People's Publishing House, Bombay, India. According to this official communist pamphlet, the Soviet Union planned to automatically veto any UN measures restrictive to or harmful to world communism while using the UN to promote friction between non-communist nations and frustrate their foreign policy, and to use the UN trusteeship council and the UN special agencies to attach all dependent and semi-dependent areas. You can see there's a lot of really good stuff in here. American communists who had been officials of the US. Like these, I've just randomly stopped. Let's see what comes up next. Oh, yeah, currently Agenda 21. Look at this, George Soros, you know, all your key figures. Oh, hang on. Agenda 21, there you go. So this is obviously written a little while back, but yeah, exactly what Agenda 21 was going to look like. Did you enjoy living through it, by the way? I thought we had a great time. You know, obviously Agenda 2030 is the next one on the list. And this is very Australian specific too. There you go. Look, the Club of Rome, according to Wikipedia itself, at least at the time. So you can see there's some really good stuff in here. Well worth a read, ladies and gentlemen. Freedom lovers alike. Lots and lots to read, you know. Definitely worth a look. And it's all free. And the foundation of Get Up, there you go, was founded in Australia by 2 Australians who replica of Move On, founded in 2003, participating as participatory democracy in order to get US President Clinton returned to office. This Australian organisation was launched on the 1st of August. It's been a while since I've read it, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, lots of good stuff. Check it out. So, what else we got here? We've done the footy and meat pies. Oh, this is a good one. You'll never believe who really built Stonehenge. I mean, I didn't see this coming. But if you're looking at the memes earlier, for those of you who have arrived a little bit later, you may have missed the memes. It might be worth a quick little revisit for those of you who have joined us a little bit later to this one specific meme. But we might do it after the video. Check this out.
Teaching pupils that Stonehenge was built by black people, Alex.
Yes, so children are being taught that Stonehenge, this is a story Mail Online today, Stonehenge was built by black people and the Roman Emperor Nero married a trans woman. These are the stories that are being, and they're also being told in pro-transgender lessons that slaves had their body parts altered and it was a form of gender transition. I mean, you couldn't make it up. Just
there you go, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. I mean, who would have thought? Who would have thought that, you know, the black people and transies were all happening all the rage back in the day. I'm so glad that, you know, we've got all that USAID money getting around to help educate us properly. And for those who missed the meme earlier, there's the meme we're talking about, you know, where all the, you know, proper people in history have been adequately identified in their proper places in the world, you know, such as Japan, Sweden, British history, Norwegian history, and Italian history. And of course, why are they doing this? Because they want to sow the seeds of hatred amongst us. You know, we're supposed to hate on the black people for this. You know, I think I would rather, you know, turn this towards the white apologist lunatics who are doing this on behalf of, you know, the UN and various other lunatic globalist agendas to make us infight. You know, that's what it's all about. You know, these are communist plans that have been working on for quite some time, sadly, more successfully than you could have possibly imagined. But it just gets funnier and funnier, right? But while we're talking about these globalist organizations, here's one from Alex Antic I seen earlier today. I thought it was a good one.
71 by Klaus Schwab. The World Economic Forum is steeped in authoritarianism and Marxist ideology. It's an ideology which is creeping into governments across the world. To quote Schwab himself when speaking about the Canadian Parliament,
we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
That's true in Argentina as well.
It's true in Argentina, and it's true in France now. I mean, with the president, with a young global leader.
The World Economic Forum promotes globalist issues such as climate change, so-called systemic racism and sexism, and creating an online digital identity. However, closer inspection reveals the World Economic Forum is an anti-capitalist, anti-free market organisation that seeks to subvert Western values and political processes. And they are very organised and very well funded. Their message is designed to appear harmless when in fact The ideology that underpins it is revolutionary and destructive. They train aspirational leaders in their ideology and help them make connections in spheres including politics, business and the arts. The World Economic Forum has consistently advocated for the harshest and most extreme COVID measures possible, including lockdowns, mandatory vaccinations, vaccine passports and mask mandates, despite these policies assaulting many of our basic liberties. The Forum believes that your freedoms should be minimised to prevent the imminent climate catastrophe, the one that's coming for 10 years in the last 50 years, by the way. The central theme of the World Economic Forum's material is what they call the Great Reset, which is Klaus Schwab's term for the opportunity the pandemic has presented to reimagine and reinvent the economic policies of the West. The term comes from Schwab directly himself with his 2020 book entitled The Great Reset. In a now deleted video titled 8 Predictions for the World in 2030, the World Economic Forum claimed that you'll own nothing and you'll be happy, a slogan that hits the same dystopian note as work makes you free and ignorance is strength. You don't have to be a political philosopher to figure out that if you own nothing, the state owns everything. There's a word for this. It's called communism. The World Economic Forum and its affiliates shamelessly promote the abolition of private property, a central facet of Karl Marx's demented utopian ideology which led to the deaths of tens of millions of people worldwide in the 20th century. No matter how sophisticated the World Economic Forum tries to make the abolition of private property around the world sound, the fantasies of Karl Marx always lead to the crushing of individuals' liberties and lives and the expansion of the state's tyranny and power. It is imperative that we pay close attention to the World Economic Forum and do all that we can to preserve liberty and reduce government intrusion in our lives. And if we fail to do so, the anti-democratic forces in the West will continue to march on, and we may wake up to an Australia that we no longer recognise. Australians deserve to know the extent to which the World Economic Forum's influence and infiltration of our country and how far it has gone, and we're going to find out.
Well, I hope you do the good work, my friend. I can't help but feel he's going to get the boot from the Liberal Party if he hasn't already. As far as I know, he's still with them. Don't know how. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you see him perhaps joining in with Rennick's new party, or he's got to go somewhere. He ain't going to be welcome in the Liberal Party for much longer, talking that way. I want to acknowledge a comment that I did see there coming up. Seeds of Hate, great song from Exodus. Actually, I'm pretty confident I've heard it before. It's probably just been a long time. Anybody else who wants to jump on with Harp's idea here, there's a link in the comments. Go and have a look. I'm gonna tune into that one a little bit later. I can't be bothered with the copyright crap right now. Also, Klaus Anal Swab, brilliant, absolutely love it. Klaus Anal Swab, that is gold. I'm gonna have to call him that from here on in. That is absolute gold. Comic genius. T2 here. Great solar flash is about to happen, man. I'm hearing that a lot lately. I'm going to put it in the, I hope so. But, you know, a lot of the sources that kind of predict those sorts of things. Like I was listening to one the other day, and I thought it was interesting that within that sort of stuff, they're promoting the idea of the digital currency and all this being the new way and how good it is for us all, and it's, you know, more secure. And I'm like, oh my God, this sounds like propaganda if ever I heard it. So I'm gonna put that one in the check out Mob Rules. If Mob Rules is in Black Sabbath, didn't Black Sabbath do that with Dio? Mob Rules. Let's have a look at some of these other starred comments. So we've got a bunch of 8 is good with me and the t-shirt. All right, cool. So let's clear off those ones that I've already looked at. And we still got more. Lisa says 8. You know, everybody's loving the 8. Okay, cool. It looks like by resounding, talk. Gary, how you going, man? Who really loved that one. And yep, cool. Those are my comments that I saved. So yeah, cool. All right, sweet. No worries. It seems unanimous. Klaus Anal Schwab is his proper term from here on in, and everybody seems to like 8 o'clock. At least everybody is tuning in live, and I guess the people who are here live are the ones that are the important ones. But again, if you are watching this after the fact and it's, you know, you're not watching it live anymore because you preferred 7 o'clock, I'd still like to hear from you anyway. So anyway, right. He should join Rennick. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we're gonna need a lot more people to jump on board with the new. We were formerly a liberal person party, and see how that turns out for him. I guess. Schwab my bottom. Love the creativity. Yeah. Yep. And we got it there on Rumble. Mob Rules, our music show. Righto. I'll have to check that out. Can you email that to me, because it's a pain in the ass to get it from the comments thing here. It's a bit hard for me. Email me. Here's a good opportunity to do that. Hey, if you've got anything you want to bring on, NQ Freedom Network at protonmail.com. At the end of the day, I never envisioned this being me rabbiting on for 2 hours about crap I found. I actually kind of created this with the intention of other people finding things that they wanted to bring in and, talking to the general community. This is supposed to be a platform for the people, as much as I enjoy the fact that you guys love listening to me rabbit on. It's inspiring, and it brings warm and fuzzy feelings to me and all that. But I would really like to get more people bringing in the stuff that they've researched. Suss out what's going on in your own town. Is your council being dogs? Why? Get some freedom of information requests, or right to information requests as it is here in Queensland, and suss out what the hell's going on and bring it here. That's what this network's really about. In the descriptions, and it's a bit hard on Facebook because I've realized putting these links into the description in Facebook actually fucks everything up. So I've posted it in Telegram, and I can email this stuff to you, but we've got a free 7-day trial of the Gaia network if you haven't already trialed it out. And if you do sign up using that link, I get a little something out of it. We watch it here at home here. It's not something I'm pushing just so I can get something. It's because I genuinely enjoy it, and I think you guys will get a kick out of it too. $10 on Stake for your first fund transfer in the Australian version. When you fund transfer to the Wall Street version, they actually give you a free stock. And I originally got I think it's one of 4. The one I got was Nike, and at the time it was about $55 or something US. It's now at $70, so it's well and truly worth more than $100. So 100, and I got it for free. So between that $10 Aussie and the stock, I've gained, I think it was, I calculate roughly about $120 worth of free stuff just for transferring money in. And then I've gone and used AI to figure out what's good things that give dividends and all the other bits and pieces. And it's actually worked out really well for me so far, just by being smart for it. But there's not many apps I know that give you that much free stuff straight away. So use that link code there, MarkB228. If you just find the Stake app, you can do it on your phone, or you can do it on a computer. I found it's probably it's like buying stocks is something I've always been interested in. And this particular app, I actually probably did that to answer somebody's question. Sorry. This app is like kind of the way I always wanted to do it, where I have control. I don't have to go and see a broker. I don't have to talk to somebody else. I just like straight up on my phone what's going on. And you can set it to go, right, I want to buy at this price point. And the money just sits there in limbo until it goes, oh, cool, there's the price point you wanted, bang, and it buys it for you. You can be at work and this shit does it for you. And I've tried it out and it's worked really well. I already made like $120 on one lot, where I set it to buy, $500 worth, because it is a minimum $500 spend in the Australian market, plus your $3 brokerage fee. And, I set it to buy at a certain point, and then I set it to sell at another certain point. Worked straight away, really easy way of doing things. You just got to ask some basic questions, right? What's a good price point to buy? Look at some basic analysis. I'm not the person to ask those sorts of questions. What's going to work for me? What isn't? Seriously, I used AI. I looked for what pays good dividends and franking credits, which is something that I learned from Senator Rennick, because Senator Rennick's like, we should get rid of franking credits. I'm like, why? Because it turns out you get a tax break. So if you got something that's paying dividends, so, a share that you own that could go up in value, but at the same time actually pays out. So it becomes another form of income. That's going to pay you a certain amount of money each time, depending on how much you've invested in the value of the share, blah, blah, blah. But the franking credits gives you a tax break. So you don't actually have to pay as much tax, I didn't invent the system. Do I endorse the system? Well, Rennick says it's a bad idea. Possibly it is, but while it's there, why wouldn't you utilize it? That's information I've gained. And then I'm here being such an asshole that I'm sharing it with you, my beautiful freedom loving people. So jump on board and have a look. What have you got to lose? Obviously, only spend what you're willing to lose. That's the thing. But that's the thing about stuff that's got dividends. It's generally considered a relatively safe bet. And again, once you figure out what's a good buy-in price, buy low, sell high. Basic principle. Learned from Robert Kiyosaki, playing his Rich Dad Poor Dad game. So richdad.com, I believe, is the website, and there's a free game there you can play to start to teach you some very basics of these kinds of concepts. Anyway, here I am rabbiting on about these things for probably a bit too much. And also, if you're into more the Bitcoin sort of thing, I don't know if I like it as much. It's something I've tried and having a go at. But there is a referral code. We get free $10. You transfer $10, you get $10, you got $20. Put it wherever you want and see what it does. Just play around, and that's all I've done. Or you can use the reference code REFJGWDH3 if that's something you're keen on. Links are in description. If you want them specifically given to you, so you can just click on stuff and it makes it easier, just shoot me an email at nqfreedomnetwork@protonmail.com, or you can find it on Telegram or any of the other channels. I'm just not putting them on Facebook at the moment. I'll probably jump in and do it after the show, because if I put it in the comments, it works. So anyway, there's all that advertising crap out of the way. Let's clear some stage here. There was a couple of little other little things I had here that I thought you people might just enjoy. Oh yeah, this was funny. Now, was anybody else aware of that? The city of Sydney now runs on 100% wind and solar. You've got to be shitting me. That is got to be a lie. This is being pushed by the World Economic Forum themselves. You can see it right there in the top right-hand corner. This is the propaganda they're pushing out. They flat out lie. Bullshit. Bullshit. And it's the biggest cesspit as well. Quick throw in an iconic thing you might know about Australia. It went carbon neutral in 2007. I'd really like to see, can anybody actually back this up? Personally, I'm calling bullshit. Kerry says they're getting power from Queensland. Well, we know there's fuck all renewables up here. Thankfully, we've got a Liberal government just in time to stop it. That's apparently the shift to renewables will save Australians $500,000 a year. Really? You've got, how the hell have they managed that? Like, I mean, what, Australia as a whole? Considering our electricity prices are going through the roof in ways I've never thought imaginable. To cut all incoming electricity. And the broom closet, I like that, Mark. Nice work. 20,000 tons of CO2. So cleaning up urban energy is key to tackling climate change. What a pile of shit. Now, we know they've flat out lied about Australia. I'm almost assured that they've lied about this shit too. Man, the crap these people come up with, it just never seems to end. It's absolutely astounding. When you look up liar in the dictionary, it should have a picture of elbow and anybody working at the WEF. It's utterly insane. Absolutely insane. I never ceases to amaze me how much garbage these people can produce. But while we're on the topic of the WEF and utter bullshit, you'll like this one. This is an absolute corker.
For the session, and you raised the coffee example. I'd love just to give you the chance to expand on that.
Basically, the coffee that we all drink emits between 15 and 20 tons of CO2 per ton of coffee.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it. I'm gonna hear that again. It's so funny.
15 and 20 tons of CO2 per ton of coffee.
15 to 20.
20 tons of CO2 per ton of coffee. Between 15 and 20 tons of CO2 per ton of coffee.
1 ton of coffee is 15 to 20 ton of CO2. Wow, this is gold. This is gold. Like it's a level of creativity I haven't seen in quite some time. I think it was a little bit similar to my 3-year-old went fishing for the first time the other day, and I wandered down to see how they were going and take a couple of happy snaps, and she turns around straight away, just almost as good as this guy, but a little bit more joyously, and turns around, I caught a fish, Dad. I'm like, oh really? And the rest of the family turns around and goes, no. She goes, yes it was a rainbow fish. I'm like, oh fuck. Anyway, so it's a little bit like this, and you can see his hands are actually prepared in the right position there for how big his fish was.
So we should all know that this is every time we drink coffee, we are basically putting CO2 into the atmosphere. One of the reasons is because most of the coffee plantation, or most of the coffee is produced through monoculture. And monoculture is also affected by climate change. The quality of these nature assets is deteriorating quite rapidly.
Oh my God. Like, it's almost like a comedy show, you know. It should be treated that way. At the end of the day, anytime these people open their mouth and they start whopping shit like that, how much CO2 is produced by, or even methane, perhaps? But we're getting the wrong gases. Remember, as I was saying to someone earlier today, if they had said carbon monoxide, I might have bought it. But CO2, like seriously, you pump that in the greenhouses and plants grow. I mean, anyway. I'm struggling to pick the peanuts out of that one because it's just one giant peanut. You know, it was this big. Oh my God. So anyway, let's have a look at the reality of what's happening in Australia when it comes to this shit. This is an interesting one.
Energy grid now. We haven't spoken about this for quite some time, but this morning it's reported that solar farms would be forced to switch off because of this energy grid jam. We're talking about delays to critical poles and wires. Joining me live now is Shadow Energy Minister Dan Tehan. Dan, thanks so much for your time. Great to have you on AM Agenda. So why the delay, do you think? Because you don't agree, or the coalition's policy, at least going to the election, is that you didn't want all these poles and wires in the first place.
Well, the problem is that Chris Bowen's made a complete mess of our electricity transition. Everywhere you look, it's a mess. And the one thing that he doesn't want to answer is, what is the cost of this mess? So we know that his plans don't take into consideration the cost of this rollout of new poles and wires. He won't put a figure on it. We now know that that's delayed. So what does that mean when it comes to the grid's reliability going forward? And also, what does it mean for consumers? Because as we've seen today, the government-owned electricity provider, Red Energy, has just sent its power bill increases to its customers in Queensland, in New South Wales and in Victoria. And when Chris Bowen was asked about this, what he had to say to these customers, which have just seen these large increases again, he said, oh, there's a review taking place. Well, the message from these customers to the message from these customers to Chris Bowen, who is sunning himself in the Pacific Island at the moment, is they want an apology, because Chris Bowen promised these customers a $275 reduction in their power bills, and yet here he is when they get another increase saying, oh, we've got this under review. everywhere you look, it's just a mess.
It is.
Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not really convinced by this shadow minister. Obviously, he's the Liberal fella, you know, but it's such a typical robotic sort of, we're doing this and we're doing the hand thing because you see every politician do this and we keep a very straight face. But his rehearsed speech is very, well, not well rehearsed. I mean, I'm making shit up and I'm doing it a better job than this guy. This is just the first stuff that comes to my head and it's just flowing out. And I've had a couple of rums. I don't know what his excuse is, but he's not really selling it. You know, at least when I do, this is a roll. See the way it flows nicely. This is very robotic and I'm not very impressed and I'm wondering how they lost an election. Not.
Everywhere you look, it's just a mess.
It is a mess, but this review or this warning from the energy market operator is for this bottleneck to occur in 2027. So we still do have time, perhaps maybe 2 years, perhaps less than 2 years away. What do you think needs to be done? Does there need to be a doubling down on getting these transmissions lines actually built? And I mean, I know you're blaming Chris Bowen, but isn't Victoria, your state, part of the big problem here?
Of course it is, and it's because they're focused on this renewables only approach. And
now that I've pointed it out, just watch the body language. I mean, the droopy eye thing is very hilarious. Great spot to stop. But just watch the hands. Watch the way the shoulders move. It's almost, well, they don't move. It's very, very interesting. You know, watch the body language.
They've completely demonised gas. They've completely demonised the idea that we should have gas peaking plants. And now in Victoria, what we're seeing to try and overcome these delays is they're taking property rights away from farmers. It's because they haven't got the plan right. And in particular, because they've focused on renewables only. If they had a technology neutral approach, we wouldn't be in the mess that we are in at the moment. And what I would say to the Victorian state government and to Chris Bowen, the first thing you could do to help alleviate these issues is to look at the role of gas and look to see what you can do to get more gas into the system. Everyone says we need more gas into the system. And rather than running roughshod over communities when it comes to putting increased grid costs on everyone, look at the simple things you can do right here and now.
Look, I agree, Harps. I can't do it anymore. Like, he might actually have a valid point, but I can't bear to watch it. And that's about as far as I got the first time. Well, I just wanted to get to the first point, but you can't call that an opposition. That's not an opposition. The guy's, he's like a corpse. I think Joe Biden could outclass this guy in friggin' charisma. That's the word I'm looking for. Charisma. Anyway, let's we'll go with something a little bit more factual before we do the humorous element, perhaps.
Human-made climate change and why net zero is a scam. I pulled some graphs from Our World in Data. This one shows annual CO2 emissions. Look at China and look at India. Their emissions are skyrocketing. And Australia, we're that flat line at the bottom. Yet somehow we're the ones getting punished. We're banning gas stoves, taxing farmers and paying more for power, while our government expands gas projects and exports coal to China and India to be burnt. If it's really about the environment, why are we shipping this so-called fossil fuels to the rest of the world? And let's not pretend China's numbers are even accurate. I bet you China's emissions are much higher. I wouldn't trust China's reporting if it came tattooed on President Xi Jinping's forehead. And now we zoom out to the global CO2 emissions chart. Global emissions are rising. So whatever Australia cuts, China and India just replace it using our resources. And every time the experts get it wrong, they just move the goalposts. First it was acid rain, then it was the ozone, then it was global warming, then it was melting ice caps, then it was global boiling, and now it's climate change. The wording now is so vague they can never be wrong. Too cold, climate change. Too hot, climate change. It's not about the weather, it's about spreadsheet and control. And now here's the part they don't want you to know. 72% of Australia's biggest solar farms, they are foreign owned. 70% of Australia's biggest wind farms, also foreign owned. So while we're told going green is the cheapest form of energy, the profits are going overseas, you are footing the bill for operating costs, and our land gets leased to foreign corporations, all approved by government policy. So we sell off the land, let foreign businesses install and run the infrastructure, and then we pay them to use our own country for power. That doesn't make any sense. And we build entire energy grids from solar and wind, which only work for some of the year and are mostly foreign owned. That's not sustainability. That is a government-backed scam. If our natural resources are good enough to power the world, then why aren't they good enough to power us? Our main energy sector needs to be based off coal and gas. Energy bills for Australians should be for free. I did a reel about this a couple days ago. Go check it out. But instead, our government is selling us out and dressing it up as climate action. It's not about saving the planet. It's about spreadsheets, kickbacks, and gaslighting the Australian people. What's your thoughts?
I think it sounds like a UN communist ideal. It's the ultimate conspiracy theory. That it really is a conspiracy theory. You know, the world is going to come to a cataclysmic end because CO2. It's fucking stupid. It is utterly retarded. You know, here's a graph. Well, pictorial representation, perhaps. The West before, the West after. China before, China after. India before, India after. It's so simple, even a child can follow. You know, it's that friggin' pointless. It's utterly the only thing that's happening here is the West is getting destroyed. We're all getting pumped hard for some over the top bloody prices and achieving what? 2/5 of fuck all. It's like it's the Townsville City Council action plan. What is it? Fuck all. Anyway, here's some you know, I looked at these graphs well over 20 years ago. It was so obvious, right? Well, let's check the overall stuff. Let's check some, you know, ice core temperatures in case you're wondering who the hell was checking this shit out a million years ago. So you can see here's our current period, and let's all the years backwards from here, 1 million years ago. Look. Natural. Look at these spikes. It's an up and down. This is the roller coaster ride called life, otherwise known as weather in this particular scenario here, or in this particular, you know, it's the temperature fluctuations, you know, natural. All this shit. I mean, unless there was big oil companies going, you know, what were we, you know, a bit over 100,000 years ago. I don't know. Is this how they really built the pyramids? I mean, that's a long time ago. Who knows? You know, what ancient civilization was producing big oil and gas and petrol driven cars and all this at this point, you know, somewhere about 250,000 years ago. Let's say about 330,000 years ago, there was another huge spike. It's actually bigger than the one we're dealing with now. I wonder what was causing that one. Aliens? Some sort of primordial prehistoric creature, perhaps. You know, I mean, I don't know, dinosaurs get a pretty good rap, but we've got to go back a bit further for that. But there's a whole array of primordial creatures that existed long before that. I don't know. Was this that weird primordial shark creature that was farting, perhaps? You know, I don't know at this point here. You know, 410,000 years ago. Look, it seems to happen every 100,000 years almost, you know, give or take. You know, this was an odd one here. You know, in a what could be a 10,000 year period, we had two peaks. Fascinating, isn't it? Seems a little bit random and perhaps a little chaotic, even. You know, look at all these natural peaks. You know, what's interesting is the hot point doesn't seem to last very long. Even the shape of this one seems reminiscent of the shape here. This one got higher. You know, I'm more worried about these cold points. I moved to friggin' North Queensland because I tell you what, it's friggin' cold in Melbourne as far as I'm concerned. I was just, you know, packing on long pants and a hoodie and all that. And I got in the car this morning expecting to see it say something to the effect of maybe 15 degrees. Apparently it was 21. I was in bloody long pants and a jumper. I'm personally not worried about global warming. Personally, I think it's a good idea because I'm sick of being freaking cold. It's just not good. How, you know, it's certainly not good for those of us with, you know, ailments of, you know, back injuries and things like that. You know, it's global warming. It's good for my back. So there you go. New campaign. Right there and done. If you think this is destroying the planet, which is, you know, such a horrible sight, and this is saving it, you must be a moron. I think that sums it up. You know, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, how is this helping? How is this eyesore helping? Obviously, it's a CGI scenario. Yeah, as if there'd be this many trees left to, around solar panels. These trees could block the ability of the solar panels to produce. So we can't have trees there. They'll have to go. Temperature curve, last 15,000 years. This is an interesting one. It goes back a little bit, Actually, no, that was in the millions, wasn't it? So here's a shorter time period where you can actually see the peak into the descent, But amazingly, what I really like here is the ice age. It's not that far from our current global warming prosperity, eh? Apparently, you remember when they call it the Dark Ages, the medieval warm, that medieval Dark Ages? Seemed like it was a bit warmer. Or are they talking about this little dip here that was just a little bit below where we're at now? Fascinating stuff, isn't it? The Roman warm period. So, 2,000 years ago. Maybe that's why there hasn't been a second coming. Just a thought, because, apparently that's the period where Jesus turned up, right? And then people decided it was a good idea to nail him to a cross to let him know how much they appreciated God's greatest gift, right? At least that's how the story goes. I'm not saying it did or didn't happen, but it's funny nonetheless, don't you think? That it was a lot warmer then. So perhaps even Jesus thinks, well, I ain't making no second coming. It's too bloody cold. Bring on the global warming. You want to see a second coming of Christ? That's it. You got to warm the planet. Look at me solving the world's problems step by step. Look at this period even before then. So what are we dropping down here? It's like, nearly 4,000 years ago. It was warm, even warmer than when Jesus turned up. Apparently it was too hot for Jesus at that point. I don't know. But if this is science, at least supposedly, this is a scientific graph and it's showing data and all this stuff for 8,000 years for the majority has been hotter than our global warming period. What's the problem? Anybody help me here? I'm struggling. A preliminary global temperature curve shows the marine life diversification in extreme heat. More land-based plants absorbed carbon dioxide, like I was saying before, and polar ice caps formed. Volcanoes and erosion swung CO2 levels up and down. But mammals evolved in a warm period. So evolution happens when things get warm. We're currently, what I find interesting in this orange period is this is a world without polar caps. And they keep trying to tell us that without polar caps, everything's going to be up the duff. But it would seem over the last, 500,000 or 500 million years, the world has predominantly been without ice caps, which again suggests that life thrives quite well on this planet as, carbon, ice age, even archaeological, dinosaurs, all these bits and pieces that have been left over, unless of course dinosaur bones were put here as some sort of cosmic joke by gods. It didn't really exist. We just thought we'd hide these dinosaur bones in there because it'll keep these paleontologists amused for God knows how long. Why else would they be there? It would seem to indicate that hotter elements are quite welcome here on planet Earth, unless of course you're a cold-hearted communist. I don't know. Even if you're the wildest conspiracy theorist, like surely the lizard people would appreciate more warmth, right? So here we are in the modern day in the cold point. It's cold. It's not good, is it? I don't know. What do you think? So now let's enter the more humorous element of this. This is at least sums it up pretty well. It's pretty sad in this day and age that the only way we can really convey how we feel is with fictional humor. Go figure. Go figure, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, we've punched this out well and truly long enough. It's 10:30 over here. Sunday, 2 o'clock, we'll have Jackie back to talk a little bit more about how things are going with the say it right. The Solemn League and Solemn League of Covenant of the People of the Commonwealth of Australia. So she'll be here to give us a bit of an update. She was pretty keen. I said, "Oh, look, we can deal with it in 3 weeks." "Oh, no, got to do it." So she dedicated to making sure that you guys have the most up-to-date information before we go on that holiday. So for those of you who have tuned in later rather than at the beginning, there will be a 3-week holiday coming up. Sunday is the last podcast until the 8th of August, I believe it was. Yep. 8th of August will be the first show back after a little bit of a holiday. I don't know if I'll call it really a holiday. A lot of family commitments and things. I just don't have the time to do what needs to be done. So, got other things to do. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. But I will be back. Don't worry. I know you'll all miss me, and I'll miss you all too. You're amazing people, and I thoroughly enjoy spending my Friday evenings here. It's kind of like going to the pub, but a shitload cheaper because I can generally, pour my drinks at a better value for money. A bit ahead on that one, but hey, here's some home brew, a much cheaper way of doing things. It's tasty. Love that fruity flavor. So 2 p.m. Sunday, that's right, Harps. That's right. 2 p.m. Sunday. Killing koalas to save polar bears. Wonderful catchphrase. Oh my God, that's got Koala Clubber written all over it. Fucking good old Tanya. She'd love that one. I reckon she'd wear that t-shirt proudly too. That's the kind of lunatic she is. Nothing says left hard nut job quite like killing koalas to save polar bears. Fuck me, have I got to put that on a t-shirt. Well done, Martin. Love your work. Love your work. All right. Great show again. Thank you, Kerry. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I had a lot of laughs on it, and it's good to know that you guys were laughing along with me because it's one of those things I can't hear it. I require your wonderful comments and feedback to let me know am I just insane or are we all going insane together? I don't know. Thank you very much, Lisa. I'll see you Sunday, and then enjoy the holiday. Thank you. Sips, ladies and gentlemen, sips. 2 p.m. Sunday. Be there, or be a circle, be a triangle, be a square, whatever. Be whatever you like. Just don't be a pedo. Something wrong with that. All right. Anyway, see you Sunday.